a few hours away from that. Well, in America, it's a little bit longer.
Yeah.
It's so exciting, I think, for the people there and some people here at home looking at social media reaction.
I think, just comparing the two, compared to then when Barack Obama was campaigning to be U.S. president, first black president of the U.S. with over 300 years, and now the first female potential president in the U.S. And then there's the Republican candidate, who's Donald Trump.
Very controversial.
Very controversial.
Very controversial. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But what's been interesting to watch also has been the final push in the campaign trail, because that's been, for the most part, messy, very hostile as well between the two candidates. But the whole campaign in general has been hostile.
Yeah, and I think understanding the different college votes.
Yes,
and
that Electoral College.
Yes.
Speaking of that, actually, our correspondent in New York, Sherwin Bryce-Pease, joins us now, and he'll have a lot more about that Electoral College, because, I mean, a lot of people have been so confused, Sherwin, about this Electoral College elections. They clearly work differently to what we've seen in our own country and the rest of the world, in fact. Take us through that.
Well, I always explain to people that, the Electoral College is actually something very simple to understand. It's just very difficult to explain. So what we've done is we've put a Electoral College map on the screen, the big screen behind me, and I'm going to try and explain to you how this works in graphic detail. If you look at the different colors, if you look at the navy blue, the dark blue, your Californias, your Washington states, your Illinois and your New Yorks, those are solidly Democratic states. And why are those important for the Democrats? Because they give you a large chunk of Electoral College votes that are required to win the presidency, to reach 270. 270 is the magic number. So that's what you're trying to piece together as a Hillary Clinton or a Donald Trump. You're trying to, in Hillary Clinton's case, to piece together all the blue states that are bankably Democratic states. What you have in the middle of America is Donald Trump country. This is Republican country over here. He will very likely win those states. And this is why you are not seeing candidates, whether you are Hillary Clinton or whether you are Donald Trump, spending much time in this area or spending much time in that area. Where they are in the gray areas. You're literally a gray area. Your Colorados, your Nevadas, your Michigans, Iowas, Pennsylvanias, Florida, of course, that has become so notorious as a decider of elections. Of course, you remember the election of 2000 that elected George Bush, when Al Gore, the then Vice President of the United States, actually won the popular vote in this country, but he lost Florida, and that determined who the winner of this election was. So swing states, these gray areas, is where you are seeing the candidates spending their political capital, whether you are LeBron James showing up with Hillary Clinton on a stage in Ohio, in Cleveland, Ohio yesterday, whether you are Barack Obama and Michelle Obama campaigning in the state of Florida for Hillary Clinton, or whether you are Donald Trump crisscrossing all these swing states in this final critical push to mobilize their voters, to mobilize their forces, so that they can come out on top come election day tomorrow.
Now, Sherwin, the latest polls indicate a slight lead for Hillary Clinton. Does that mean she is likely to win the presidential election come tomorrow night?
Well, that's the question, is it not? Does this lead actually then translate into a victory for Hillary Clinton? What she has done, Lulu, is she has been able to maintain a lead, whether it was before the FBI announcing that they were reopening the investigation into her email usages while she was Secretary of State 11 days ago, or after they announced yesterday that this election, that their investigation was going to close with no new criminal charges being brought. Her lead has maintained, it was first 11 points, and it's down to between 3 and 6 percentage points nationally. But as I explained to you, that's wonderful, winning the popular vote in this country, and generally it does mean that you will win the election. But critically, it's important to piece together enough states to get you to 270 Electoral College votes, and that's why those swing states are very important. If you just were to tabulate all the states are going to go blue or Democrat in this election, you might get close to 270, but not quite. And that's why Hillary Clinton will require a Florida, an Iowa, a New Hampshire, a Colorado to push her over 270. For Donald Trump, the middle of the country, as you see over here, will only get him so far, about 200 Electoral College votes. Some estimates have him at around 180. So he needs to win some big states. He needs to win Florida. He needs to turn Pennsylvania, a blue state generally, he needs to turn that red. So his path to the White House is much harder and much trickier than Hillary Clinton's is at this point.
Now, Sherwin, there have been millions of votes cast in early voting that ended on Sunday. What are some of the early trends that we're seeing?
Huge Latino turnout in states like Florida and Nevada. And that is important because of what has been said about minority groups in this country by one of the candidates in this election. You are seeing record numbers of Latino voters registering to vote in the early voting process, and then importantly turning out to actually cast those ballots. And this is good news for Hillary Clinton. And it comes after a sequence of a few good events for her. The fact that the FBI said they will bring no criminal charges, and really some concern we're hearing out of GOP, which is the Republican Party quarters in Nevada, for example, where we are seeing record Latino turnout in those early votes. And essentially, to win the White House, what becomes important is really being able to stitch together a demographic coalition of voters. You want to win a sizable portion of the black vote in this country. You want to win a sizable portion of the white vote in this country. You also want to win the Latino vote. That's how you stitch together a comprehensive coalition, certainly one that propelled Barack Obama to the White House in 2008 and subsequently in 2012. What you are seeing from Donald Trump's in Donald Trump's camp is he's winning the uneducated, non-college educated white vote in this country. Hillary Clinton could become the first candidate in something like 60 years, the first Democratic that is, to win the white college educated vote in this country. I think actually ever. It's always gone the Republican way. This is the first time in American history that Hillary Clinton could potentially win the white college educated vote in this country. So demographics are key when we talk about presidential elections in the United States.
Now, Sherwin, voting begins at about 6 a.m. Eastern Time. That's around 1 p.m. South African time tomorrow. When do the polls, and when can we start having an idea of what the results may look like?
Well, there are about 4 time zones in the United States. We start early in the east and we end very late in the west. So polls will close on the east coast, and ballot counting will begin immediately while people in California and in Hawaii, for example, are still voting. So people could literally still be in line in California voting when we actually can call a United States presidential election. So if Florida, for example, goes really early, if Hillary Clinton can win Florida in the early, sort of soon after polls close here, in terms of what the estimations will be from the various pollsters, we could have a result by around 9 p.m., 10 p.m. local time, which is about 4 a.m., 5 a.m. South African time Wednesday morning. So I'm guessing that when South Africans wake up, when they have their morning coffee or their morning breakfast, we might have some interesting news for them come Wednesday morning.
Sherwin, we'll have to leave it there for now. Thank you so much for that update and finally explaining that Electoral College. It was very insightful. We'll definitely be crossing to you throughout the program, and as the story develops, we're very, very excited about this election.
Yeah, looking forward to it.